Yeah, I remember from a previous talk that I actually had found myself going over that an article that I had brought up in the debate, not the debate, the talk beforehand, by Mr. Hemant Mehta.
The Kirk Cameron of atheism.
Yeah. Um, Basically, what many atheists I've seen who criticize you, they say is that um, if basically they accuse you of redefining science in a way so you can make up all the answers. Basically stuff like Adam and Eve weren't the first humans, God didn't create the world in 6 24-hour days, snakes don't talk, a great flood didn't wipe out humanity, all that stuff. And, light wasn't created before the sun existed.
Well, so they obviously have not studied this very deeply. What I have noticed with most critics is that they either get the science horribly wrong or they get the biblical theology horribly wrong. Now, who am I going to listen to? An online kind of armchair critic or somebody with a PhD who is an Orthodox theologian and has studied this literally his entire life and translates directly from biblical Hebrew. I mean, I spent years studying this. I have not seen any substantial criticism from these people. Now, that's not to say that there aren't points on which you could criticize or that you could argue about. There are, because biblical scholarship is very difficult. But these are generally people who have PhDs in ancient Near East studies or in biblical Hebrew, not these, armchair critics. I mean, these criticisms from these guys are usually so bad. It's like, I'm not even sure how to respond to some of them. If you want to pick something in particular, I can try to address it.
Of course, another criticism that I see is that I remember you had said that in a Twitter post. Let me see what you directly said. All right, it said Christianity is the best explanation for evil. That's what you said.
Mm-hmm.
And it said, Hemant Mehta had said, I suppose it's comforting to believe all actions, even disturbing ones, are part of God's master plan. When you believe that, there's literally nothing you can do to stop it. It's the lazy way out. No wonder Christians send thoughts and prayers after mass shootings. It's literally all they have at their disposal.
Now, that's just, again, a misinterpretation that's really silly. I don't think that people choosing to commit acts of evil is all part of God's plan. Obviously, God wills us not to commit evil. This guy's got it completely backwards. But what you do is you acknowledge that evil acts are evil, as opposed to, these are just, if you have a subjective morality, you can just say, well, it's something I don't personally like. But it's just what this, it's the natural course of things in a godless universe. I mean, how do you explain why something is evil or bad in a naturalistic context? You can't. It's impossible. And to acknowledge the actual tangible existence of evil is not lazy in any sense. If anything, it gives us a mandate to do all that we can to resist it. This person has gone completely backwards.
Well, I mean, it makes it seem like all Christians do is pray when you forget that Christians run the charities that help out these people.
Yes, one wonderful example is William Wilberforce, who, this was centuries ago in England, who, upon becoming a recently converted Christian, because we are told in Scripture that we were created to do good works, and this is the fruit of faith, right? He started looking for a cause, and his cause was to put an end to the international slave trade, the worldwide slave trade. Okay, the mass movements of people from one place to another to force them to work, right? And that was his cause, that because we're all made in the image of God, each one of us is an image bearer of the divine, that it is absolutely wrong to enslave someone, for someone to be property of another person. And so he devoted something like 25 years of his life going before Parliament in England to beg the British government to put an end to the worldwide slave trade. And he finally was successful. They used the force of the British Navy to put an end to that. I mean, to say that all Christians do is thoughts and prayers, I mean, that's an insult. It's ridiculous. You know, sometimes all you can do, literally, is to pray for someone or for something. But Christians all the time take action, whether it's charity, ministering to people, getting out there and physically helping. You know, that is just a ridiculous accusation.
Well, I wanted to leave off on this one comment because, since to go back to your little friend Hemant Mehta,
Okay.
where he had said after her tweet went viral, she responded with what appeared to be a slur aimed at people with Asperger's. You had said, like clockwork, here are the spergs. As Eve says, why do atheists think that swarming my tweets does anything but prove that I really touched a nerve?
Now, as a person legitimately with Asperger's, and I test very strongly on that, I don't see that as a slur. It is a word that means somebody who is paying an undue amount of attention to a detail that is not really relevant. Now, as a sperg myself, a legitimate one, I don't take issue with people using the word that way. And that's clearly what I meant.
Well, you know, we could also say that they're appropriating on our culture.
Cultural appropriation.
Cultural appropriation. That's right. My goodness, why didn't I think of that? I'm offended now. I'm offended at myself having used it. I appropriated it inappropriately.